Oh yeah, Poppy. Oh yeah, Poppy. Funny enough, with the AI, it's
I know, right?
All right,
Let's
cool.
go.
We got 2 now. All right, bro. So we're good to start. How you doing? You feeling good?
Hey, man. I'm great, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's an honor.
sure.
Your shop is beautiful.
Thank you.
And, of course,
I
word of mouth
appreciate you.
brought me here to you.
Absolutely, bro.
Small world.
I've been cutting your brother-in-law for a while now.
Look at that.
And I appreciate it. By the way, what do you go by? I know Los is your name. I'm assuming Carlos. It comes from Carlos.
Well, that's a long story.
Okay. But everybody knows you as Los in town.
So Los is the name that I go by in the barber industry. But my real name is Luis.
Oh, okay.
No one knows
Keeping
me
it
by
off the
that.
grid. Nobody
I
has
don't
to
even
know.
like that name. That name just don't even sound artistic enough to me. You know what I mean?
Los doesn't.
But I'll tell you how that came about. 2004, I was working for a barbershop in town. It was called International House of Cuts.
This is New Jersey?
This is New
'Cause
Jersey.
I didn't mention that. You came here from New Jersey.
I come here from Jersey, right? And so the barbershop was all predominantly all black barbers, and I was the only Spanish guy in the shop. So the owner of the shop had a brother that also had a barber shop, and he had a barber in there that his name was Lowe's, and he happened to be Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican, and so it was like an inside joke. So when his brother came over to his shop to congratulate him, he said, "Oh, listen, that's the Lowe's of my shop." He was trying to refer as I was the Puerto Rican to the shop.
Right.
So I was like, damn, that name sounds cool. You know what I mean? Like, Luis wasn't it, man. Like,
For sure, yeah.
You know, so I was just like, I'm going to rock out with Lowe's. And everybody thought that Lowe's was short for Carlos. And I just kind of rock out with that,
I
man.
assume that as well. I
Yeah.
hear Los, the first thing I'm thinking is Los. And you got Los Cut It. You know who
You
that
got
is.
Lowe's Cut It, right?
Yeah. Jimmy's a big fan of his.
I'm
Jimmy the
a
barber.
big fan of Lowe's Cut It.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of creativity, and his work is amazing.
I've seen his shop setup, but I don't really know much about. I'm not too as much as I love the industry and what we do. I come from a kind of a different side of it,
Right.
So I don't know too much about the celebrity side, or the, if you will, or the. How would you define that side of barbering? Like, because I would use the term celebrity barbering.
Well, you know, honestly, back then, I think like Curtis Smith, Pacino kind of started this whole celebrity barber type labeling for barbers that actually wasn't exposed to cutting celebrities and traveling with them and so on and so forth. And I remember Curtis Smith kind of like set the grounds for that when he would say that he was Usher's personal barber, and people like gravitated to that. You know what I mean? So on that note, when I was coming into the industry, I took the celebrity barber labeling as if that's a cool barber, man. You know,
Right.
I want to network with him. I want to see how he opened those type of doors, because you know, every barber truthfully make their money from their local supporters,
For sure.
But you know, being able to get out that that local mindset where it's like you get your money here and that's it, you go home,
Yeah.
making that 9
That
to 5
9 to
feel
5, yeah, that
right.
9 to 5.
So that celebrity labeling, celebrity barber, you know, whatever the name is, kind of gave you, that.
Yeah.
You know? So barbers was attracted by that.
That extra hustler mentality.
Yeah, it
you know,
does.
kind of like like when we were younger and you got the rappers. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Or like back then the rappers became that because they were the dope boys in town. you know
Right,
what I mean?
true.
And that, it's funny I say that because I hear from a lot of people, whether in the industry or not, but usually not in the industry, it's like they feel like barbers are like the legal dope boys. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
always,
true.
And also illegal, because we all know plenty of fronts too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that happens. Let's not act like that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Any kind of business.
in any kind of business. I mean, barbering by far, I don't think people truly know how connected and how blessed a barber really is. And I'm talking about outside the industry. When I first started, the movement was called Dreams and Cuts. And when I first started the movement, trying to bring on barbers and making ambassadors and stuff like that, I'm taking it back to 2004.
Okay.
21 years of that.
Is this year when you first came in the game? Was 2004 in the barbering game?
Oh, no, I've
when
been kind of here in 1997.
Okay.
But the movement started kind of like alongside with Facebook, that's when I started storming through ideas and stuff like that. And I came with the movement of Dream Team Cuts. And Dream Team Cuts came about because I used to love basketball. So Dream Team was like the Dream Team basketball. And I said, oh, it would be cool if I just put cuts and I just add on some of the cool barbers that I think, it doesn't matter where you're from. I can add you to the team and, make you a team ambassador at a different country, different state, different city. So back then, according to social media stats and all that, we covered about 48 countries, which was pretty expanded. We had a lot of supporters. We did shows in Colombia. We did shows in Ecuador.
That's what I was
going
going
to
to ask.
Puerto Rico.
If you didn't mind, that was a question of mine, because I know you mentioned the relation to the Dream Team, the NBA Dream Team.
Correct.
Right? So when you say that team was inspired by that, what was the kind of driving force of the team? Was it like a let's go do these seminars as a team and show them collectively our individual talents, and like, was it more educational? Was it more showcasing? Like, what was the team really?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Now I'm gonna give it to you. No one's ever heard this part, right? So when I created Dream Team Cuts, there was no team. So my vision was way ahead of myself. So when I put team, it's because that's what I was trying to develop. And that's the direction I was going for. But it was just me.
Right. Well, I know that feeling.
Right.
I know, we all know
you get
that
what I'm saying?
feeling. Yeah.
So it was just like, I know this is going to go somewhere, and I'm going to, and we're going to add on to the team, and we're going to actually create a team. And so it started off with just me. And I remember one day I was surfing through the net, and I came across a commercial on the internet, on YouTube actually, about a barber battle coming up to New York City. And
You were living there at the time?
no, Jersey.
Oh, okay.
But New York City is like
Right
a state
next-
over.
yeah.
And it was my boy Kamal. He had the NYC barber battle, and I remember contacting him. And when I contacted him, I didn't know who he was. We started a relationship there, building the relationship there. So I remember I went in there, I signed up as Dream Team Cuz. They probably were expecting the whole team, but
Oh, because
here I pulled up with a little
I'm
bag.
representing Dream
right,
Team
I
Cuz.
represent
Yeah.
right. So it started off like that, and then like I said, once we started bringing people on board, then our focus was like trying to bring cross marketing was big for me, because like I was mentioning earlier, I don't think still to this date, which is 20 years later, I don't think the industry is recognized as, they look at us as drug dealers.
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So because we present ourselves with tattoos, because we artists. You see your barbershop, how beautiful it is. It has a lot of
Thank you.
artistry to it. You know what I mean?
sure.
So we are no different than Louis Vuitton. We're no different than all these fashion designers. So when I tell people, usually when they sit in my chair, I'm the designer here. So you want to look good. Trust in my hands and trust in my judgment. I'm gonna give you the best cut that's gonna fit you.
Isn't that the most fun?
Yeah, because
Every time.
don't come and tell me what to do. I'm the
Yeah.
creator.
That's
here,
the
you know what
best
I mean?
part, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody laughs because it's like, you come in here, you tell me what you want so that I have an idea for what your flavor is.
Right.
And then I'm like, all right, pause. And then I go and I decide, okay, this is how I can best suit that to your image based on what I'm seeing.
Correct.
Because you don't see it how I'm seeing it.
Correct.
And you're a little wrong.
Of course, 100%, right? Of course, 100%.
And it's fun though when they come in. I had a recent client. It's summertime. He's in high school, so obviously image is important, right?
Right.
And he's finally like, dude, I'm gonna let you just do whatever, man. And I was like, whoa, are you sure? Especially the young kids these days, they don't let you do that, bro. They're like,
Right.
anything below a 12 guard is a buzz cut.
It's a buzz
It's
cut.
a buzz cut. They're like, nah, you crazy? You're gonna cut off all my hair? I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? You can braid this. And he's like, you could do whatever you want. And you know, most of the time when you could tell who means that and
Right.
who just saying, I don't know.
Correct.
There's a difference between
Right.
do whatever you want and I'ma love it, and like, I don't really know, do whatever you want, but don't fuck it up.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm with you.
That's a whole nother game, bro.
Because you got to read the body language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, but I like the verbal agreements. You get me?
Correct. Of course,
So
of course.
I'll tell them, look, I would love to do that, but are you sure?
Right.
What are your boundaries?
Right.
Like, where do you absolutely not want to go?
Right.
Or are you gonna give me the opportunity to do whatever I want? Because I'll
Correct.
cut all this shit off. I'll cut all this shit off. I love classic Caesars
Right,
and
right.
buzz cuts.
I'm with you.
And it's not just because it's easier. Because yes,
Right.
it is easier to a certain extent.
Right.
Because obviously, you know, depending on how good you're trying to be
Right.
with what, you can sauce it up,
Of
mess it
course.
up. But I never think those go out of style. So I always have to double check. Like, are you sure you want to go this way? And he was serious about it, but I felt in my heart that like he wasn't ready for that. So
Correct.
I still gave him a little.
Because that's
bit.
like a day and night
Yeah.
transition.
Exactly.
I mean, like, you know, it's kind of weird, man, because I built a lot of relationship in my community with all walks of life. And I embraced that wholeheartedly because my opportunities came from people believing in me. It didn't came from credential. It don't come from credentials. I don't have a master's degree, a doctorate degree, or none of it. I got great people in my team. I got great people that surround me.
Hell yeah.
I got people that would never look my way unless I was cutting their hair. You know, so when I'm starting to cut their hair, I'm building relationship.
Right.
It's not just here I'm gonna make $50 in 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I never put a price tag on people's head. You know, I see beyond that. You know, it's obvious that you're gonna get paid for your work. But the relationship is worth more to me. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So what's crazy is recently, I would say about a month or two, I started driving Lyft, not because I have the need to do that. I realized that from certain time to certain time, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not a married man. My kids are grown. I'm not coming home to that. So I was like, how can I be a little bit more productive with my time? And I started driving in cities like Philadelphia. And I started to meet great people because those cities, nobody drives. It's very chaotic to drive in those cities, and I get to meet so many great people. Let me tell you something, man. I go pick up rides and ride on 6-7 miles for $4. So I'm not doing this for the money.
Right, right.
But the contact that I've gotten from there, this phone right now is worth about $3 million.
Right. Exactly.
Because of the contact that's in here.
Right.
That some of them started from recently driving the Lyft to cutting. And I live in a city where we have at one point 13 casinos. So we're like little mini Vegas, and everybody comes there. So networking is a big deal in the industry.
You're right outside of Atlantic City?
Right outside Atlantic City. I'm about 10 minutes away.
Let me ask you this. I'm ignorant to Jersey.
Oh, you've never been to Jersey?
Every way. I've been there, but barely. Because
Right.
when I have been there, it was because I was with family in New York.
Right.
And we were going somewhere, and we happened to be dropped. I thought I was still in New York. Turns out we're in Jersey. I'm like, oh, we're in Jersey? All right, cool. And they're like, yeah, we're going back right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm like, all right, cool. So that's my limitation on understanding. And that in Jersey Shore, which is what my question was. Is this considered Jersey Shore? Atlantic City, like where's the boundaries there?
So Atlantic City is like, you know, before all these other casinos started opening up, it was considered like a mini Vegas. So if you didn't want to take a 5-hour flight and you was in Florida, you take a 2-hour flight, you're in Atlantic City. Atlantic City has a lot of history behind it. When it comes to mafia, when it comes to
The Sopranos, baby. That's all. I hear
Right.
Jersey, I think my man,
Right.
Tony.
There was a show, I guess, what's it called? Boardwalk. I don't watch TV
Boardwalk.
show,
I know what you're talking about. I know
that's
I
based
didn't
out
watch it, but I know what you're talking
Right,
about.
so that's based out of Atlantic City. So the Atlantic City has a lot of history. I mean, you got some of the greatest boxers like Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson. These are legendary boxers. They all fought in Atlantic City. That was their stomping ground outside of fighting for MGM and Vegas. So Atlantic City, there's just a lot of partying.
And you're like what, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes? How far?
5-10 minutes away, man.
But that's not Jersey Shore. That's a different place.
Well, Jersey, you consider more like Jersey Shore, more like I would say Seaside Heights.
Okay.
Which is about an hour away from us.
Okay, so it's different,
Right.
different kind of area.
That's a different
vibe.
yeah. That was where the MTV house was at, But Atlantic City by far is truly more opportunities and there's
Diverse.
more, right, of course.
And that was the thing. You said you went to South America. Where was the first place you took the Dream Team? When you said you started traveling, how did that happen?
So the traveling, so I never personally traveled to these countries. I had ambassadors in these countries.
That were from those countries.
Right.
Okay.
So we will do financial backings. We would do what we had our blueprint. We will pass it on to the people that already was doing things. We would just reinforce what they were doing.
Yeah, as brand ambassadors.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
So that's what we were doing. We were just, sponsoring and, and collectively sharing ideas.
Especially in those countries, because I see even now through Instagram, we have the industry the way it is here, much
Correct.
like, I don't even want to make the comparison, but where you go to other countries and barbering isn't nearly what it is here. So they look to us as like the forefront here, and maybe Europe too. You could say Europe, but London, England, those type of places. So when they look at that, they're like, oh man, I'm one of 5 barbers in my country.
Correct.
Who do I look to help me? And then this would be a Dream Team or Elevate or
Of course,
or these
100%.
places. And okay, go ahead.
A lot of the work that I was putting out through social media, because I used to bombard in the social media. Like, before barbers understood what tagging was, I was tagging everybody everybody, like 80, 90 tags. And I remember going to a hair shop like, man, you post a lot.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of tagging.
They're like, you got to stop tagging me, bro. But you're like, hell nah.
Truthfully, I was told that at one
yeah.
point. And I was like, okay, it's time to fall back. You know? But that's
because you don't want that impression either.
Of course.
You don't want, like, you want to know that you're hustling, but you don't want to be bothering people.
Right, correct. 100%.
That's a fine line that a lot of people do not understand. People that I know of that I'm thinking of when you say that.
Right.
And I'm like, listen, Mark, please market yourself. I'm not telling you to stop doing it, but this is not how you do it.
Right.
You know, but that's a trial and error process.
Of course, especially when it was all new to all of us.
Exactly.
So I saw that it had a lot of great the results, you know. Back then, going viral was 500-600 likes, which I was getting at ease. So social media became like a drug, man.
Yeah,
right.
And that
you get
changed
addicted
the
to
industry.
It did.
And so even you seeing how that was at that point to what it's become now, being an OG, well, I would consider you an OG, right?
I appreciate that.
You 20 years in the game professionally, surviving through all that. You said you've owned 2 shops. You told
Correct.
me, right?
Yep.
We talked. How do you? Because I know how I feel about where we are now as an industry and as a profession, tradesman, craftsman. What do you see about how the current status is of the industry and how barbers are, the dynamic of social media? Not to be specific about social media, but how that has impacted the trajectory of the industry. You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel about the current standing, especially being as like now that you don't have your shops of your own now,
correct, but
still obviously in the trade? Where's your mindset on that? How do you see that evolution progressing?
That's a little touchy. So listen, I would start off with this. When I first started, I tapped in with Facebook, but prior to Facebook, it was word of mouth is how you got put on. And put in like the real work. Because when I say real work is when social media came about, it became like a race just like anything else. Everybody's in a race for the same thing, right? So then people just got good at, they studied great and became greater. So then here comes Photoshop. Then here comes the dye. And here comes the transitions of videography. And, and everybody started tapping in and showing what they were good at. And then, so back then when I first started, it was a concrete jungle. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was either you had it or you didn't have it. And word of mouth to this day is solid for a man, right? Yeah. So like, back in the day, the contract was a handshake and your word. So when someone stood and said, that's the man, that was the man. Yeah. If not, you was going to pay the consequences for saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
So social media doesn't really have that concrete, that's the man, like the word of mouth type.
You got all these bots and fake reviews and
people
just flame and trolls. All these people who have the audacity to not have a profile picture, have 0 posts, and all the strongest opinions.
Right.
It's like, bro, where's your face? Like, obviously, there's a red flag here.
Right. And believe it or not, some people don't see the flag. And so that becomes another, form of
warfare
challenge that we have to overcome. So like, coming in from an era where I come from a concrete jungle way of thinking, right, to the facade of the internet, because
Photoshop
and stuff like that. I'm not against none of that stuff. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I believe that if it's 2 things that's gonna happen in your life, you're either gonna evolve or you're gonna evaporate. Mm-hmm. So we all individually make a choice on where we want to stand at with that. So I always refer to Daddy Yankee. So Daddy Yankee's been in the game for a long, long time, right? And I was always saying to myself, damn, how did he stay relevant for that many years? How can he still impact generation after generation where they don't relate to each other, even by age? They're not even using the same vocabulary. Mm-hmm. So what I did notice that Daddy Yankee was doing was he was staying relevant by educating himself with the trends. Now, he didn't necessarily was in the streets, right? But he will bring the streets to his studio.
Right.
He will hear them out, and he will pick up on the vocabulary. So then he was able to transition from his era, which is us,
right,
to the younger crowd. Like, there's kids now that are 16. They know who Daddy Yankee is.
Right.
So that to me means a lot. So I like to study that type of stuff. Like, forget what you're talking about and what
Right.
you're doing.
What do
How
you-
did you connect with these people? You know,
Mm-hmm.
so staying relevant is a lot of homework, especially at our age where now you got kids, you got this, you got business, you got whatever investments, you got a bunch of personal situations that they don't always have to be good; they can be bad too, right? How do you have still time to continue to elevate? And of course, like you got a team, and everybody's taps into it. But going to the question, like, that was another world I had to learn. I had to learn. I remember when I first brought the first videographer team into recording me and stuff like that. And the guy at the end of the night, he says, it's $1,000. I was just working for my friend, and I'm still paying $200, and I'm still traveling. No one's sponsoring me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to do the back end for everything I was doing, 100% on my pocket. So that was challenging. But I'm a firm believer that whatever you want, all it takes is a blueprint. So I drew out a blueprint on what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And I just say, okay, now how am I going to put this money on the table? Well, my technique, my skills.
Right.
So believe it or not, you know where I really was good at? Doing designs.
Well, that's interesting.
Well,
Actually,
I-
no, I knew I kind of knew that actually because I think I saw the last one you did on Mario,
Right.
And I was like, damn, that's fire.
Thank
That's
you.
not my forte. I'll be the
Right.
first one to tell you. They're cool, like they're fun to do,
Right.
But it's just not my thing. Like I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm not a specialist there. I'll do it if you want me to, and I'll make a cool one here and there,
Right.
But there's people like Jimmy or like Eric or yourself who are like. They love doing that, and it just flows naturally. Shout
Correct.
out Bravo. Bravo's another barber in town that I'm
Right.
nasty with designs.
Correct.
I'm not even gonna. That's your lane, bro. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, this is my lane. You know
Of
what I'm
course,
saying?
100%.
I'm gonna sit here and talk to you. I'm gonna understand. I'll get the value, the relationship, all that. Not that they don't do those things, but you know what
Right.
I mean. I know what I'm good at.
Right.
And I'm good at the classics.
There you go.
The blowouts, the fades. That's what I focus on.
Those haircuts are the haircuts that make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't go to a job interview with a Sonic jumping over Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
Even now with the parts and the eyebrow slashes, I
Right.
don't have issues with those.
Right.
But if somebody shows me any hesitance, I'm saying no, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't
Stay
do
away
it, bro.
from it.
Be classy. You feel
Right,
me?
I'm with you.
Not that I think that those lack class. I'm not trying to put that
I'm with
box
you, I'm with
out
you,
there
I'm
either.
with you.
But it's something about that timeless look. You know
I'm-
what I'm
I'm
saying?
with you, I'm with you.
It's so fresh, bro.
Someone has to stand on what that professionalism, that history of classic look.
Yeah,
You know,
and I like that lane.
I'm with you.
I like that lane. I like the classic brown leather belt with the brown shoes. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? With the brown, whatever. I like that.
I'm
So
with
that's
you.
my thing.
I say this, and it goes back to what you're saying. Like I tell barbers all the time, any barber can make money.
For sure.
I don't. It don't really matter what level of you think you're in. Like you could be a novice, you could be a master, but and in between. Listen, there's people out there. You just gotta recognize who you are.
Right.
So if I consider myself a C-class barber, there's plenty of C-class clients. You know,
If
you're
that-
class.
Go ahead, I'm sorry,
You're
I'm
a
sorry.
classic barber. You like your Caesars.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like
yeah.
your pushback. You like your comb overs. Guess
Classy.
what? There's a million people out there. The demand is there for you.
Right.
You don't have to tap into designs and stuff. Listen, when your day of work is done and my day of work is done, we bring into the table money,
Right.
and opportunities that was created with what you know how to do.
Right.
So I tell barbers all the time, I'm not saying don't elevate, but don't feel like you are left out because you don't tap into certain things.
Right. You're only missing out because you're choosing to.
Right.
And that's the thing is, and not, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, you're good.
that's what I was going to say is that the idea of I wouldn't even like to use the alphanumeric system, right?
Right.
Because naturally your brain wants to put it into a superior inferior order.
Right.
Okay, if I'm C class, then I'm not A, I'm not the top, right?
Right.
And I know that's not how you meant it,
Right,
but
of course,
for
right.
other people's brains,
Of
right?
course.
So I would say, even if that's the case, if you know your niche, if you know your pocket, your target audience, if for example, I told you what I like, right?
Correct.
Let's say that's what I was good at.
Correct.
But it's not what I aspired to.
Correct.
It's not the thing that I want, the level that I wanted to hit, right? Well, if that's the case, that's cool too. But what are you doing to move in the other direction?
Correct.
And that's the problem, right? Well, when you and I were talking earlier, I had mentioned that, or when you were talking earlier, you were talking about all this stuff you were doing to to take it to the next level, to grow, to elevate, right?
Right.
I got to plug. It's my team.
I know, I love it.
And you did, so thank you.
Yeah.
Bro, this is my issue with the industry, and it's individuals, obviously. We, much like other places, this industry attracts people from the fringes of society.
Correct.
Right? The creatives, who are usually, for one reason or another, crazy. You know what I'm saying? The good crazy, the bad crazy,
Right.
all the crazy.
Right.
Right? Barbers, tattoo artists, all very parallel industries, right? And what happens is, from my perspective, especially, I come from a more corporate customer service background.
Correct.
You know, that's how I grew up. My parents were in that field. My parents were crazy Puerto Ricans too.
Right.
But when I saw them at work, that's not who they were.
Of course.
You get what I'm saying?
100%.
And when I got to go see them at work and be in their offices, and I got to see the binary world that it was.
Right.
Like, listen, this is who we truly are.
Right.
But we go get paid, and this is what we get paid for.
Right.
Right.
You still got hit with the chancleta though.
Yeah, exactly. I got the hanger broke over my ass, all that, right? And thank you, because I needed it, Mom.
Right, of
Thank
course.
you. But I got to see that binary world, and I know, and I see now that so many people, not just in our industry, but that's what we're talking about, don't see that world. And they don't see the crossover where you can keep your roots,
Correct.
but you are a professional.
Correct.
You understand? Like, you can be this is what I find with a lot of people, not like, again, clients that come in, we talk about their lives, their progress, their challenges, all these things. And much like you said, all you got to do is recognize who you are. That's what was one of the first things you said, right?
Yep.
All you have to do to make money is recognize who you are and be that, and find the people who are looking for you.
Amen.
But the problem is that so many people have trouble recognizing who they are, because they're blinded by all these false identifications in front of them. They're blinded by the things that they aspire to have, but don't understand the lifestyles and actions that it requires to have those things. And they don't realize, although they want that result, that symptom, they actually don't want the life that's required to achieve that.
Correct.
So then now their whole perspective on life is twisted, because they're shooting to have something through the means of which that they don't want.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And it throws them all off. And then they finally, let's say it's barbering, because again, that's what we're here for, right? Barbers come into the game because they want to be their own boss. Whether they come from the streets, whether they come from a corporate background, from whatever. They're tired of where they come from, and they want to change it, and they don't want anybody telling them what to do.
Correct.
So they become a barber and they rent a chair. And then they rent a chair and they think, now nobody could tell me what to do. I pay my rent, I'm here, I cut hair, and I go home and I mind my business. It's like, yes, but you achieved step one. You get what I'm saying?
Correct.
You've achieved that freedom, and now you have to deliver something of value that resonates with people, and that's real, and that's not full of shit, and that doesn't have ulterior motives, and that performs at a level that brings, like I mentioned, value and customer service and positivity to people.
Of course.
But that's where it stops, because they get the freedom and then they get comfortable and complacent.
Right.
And then they say, okay, I did everything I had to do to get here, and now I'm here, and now I'm getting money, so I'm good.
Right.
And now I'm gonna just go home and chill and, drink or smoke or whatever, and just not do shit.
Right.
To take what I'm doing to the next level.
Correct.
To be a better barber, to build better relationships. I know so many barbers, bro, who are, like you mentioned, it's not even necessarily that they're only about their money, because they don't even manage their money. So they're not just about their money.
Right.
They just have no value in the things they're doing throughout the day.
Right.
They're not doing anything to make more money. They're not using their money to make money. They're just making the money daily and then using it. Correct. And then not building anything from it.
Correct.
And they're not adding anything to people's lives, and people notice that. People come in here and have conversations and talk to us about things they're experiencing in other shops, and it's like, people are making money here doing that.
Right.
It's not that hard to just be a genuine person,
Correct.
show people who you are, not try to put on a show, and let the people in, because then you create a space that allows them to be vulnerable. It allows them to see how you've gotten to where you've gotten to. Of
course.
And what makes you the place to be, because here we recognize you for who you are. We let you see who we are.
Correct.
And we can grow together.
Of course.
100%. Right? But I think that's kind of affecting the younger generation of barbers, because they come in and that's a big section of the market I'm talking about. They see these Los Cuttits, these signature Loses, these guys who have done it, and they're like, oh, I want to be that. I want to have the videos that have all those views. I want to be the barber that charges $150, and I want to have my own private studio. It's like, okay, There's a lot of things you have to do before you get there.
Right.
And just having a clean fade is not it.
Right, absolutely.
You
not.
get, and you
Yeah,
can
of
get
course.
there without a clean fade.
Right,
I
of
see
course.
people do it.
Right, 100%.
So you're focused on the wrong thing, brother.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
You
Like,
know, there's franchises out there, right? Not to mention no names, right?
Yeah.
But there's franchises out there.
and we know who they are.
right? They have outblown any urban settings with barbers that are truthfully champions to the industry, right? And these investors investing behind these names don't even care what goes on in the industry. Matter of fact, they don't even show love to the industry in no way, shape, or form.
At all.
They just and they're making some real heavy low type of money.
They got corporate buildings.
Right. So, you know, we obviously there's a whole business side of that the industry in today's time has been missing out on. I was talking about cross marketing, networking since 2000. Before I was just, what is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bringing enlightenment from like, I want to make sure that Comcast is interested in being part of Dream Team Cuts. But why?
Yeah. What's the purpose?
Yeah,
What does it have to do with the next guy
right.
sitting in your chair? Like, bro,
But it has a lot of purpose.
They can only see as far as their nose.
Right. So
it's
that's
like, bro.
the 5 feet visibility, and then you got the person that can see beyond that.
Right.
So, you know, like I said, like I had a shop with private studio before that was even a thing.
The suites, right?
The
It was like a
suites. So
suite, yeah.
people were asking me, who the hell is going to cut hair in this room with a door? And it's just so, and now here we are.
Let me ask you real quick, because I wanted to ask you this. How did you even start cutting hair? What's the origin of your barber story? How did that happen?
Oh, I started cutting hair. Listen, my aunt and, well, first of all, I was born in New York.
You were born in New York.
I was born in New York and Brooklyn.
Hey, me too.
Look at
Might
that.
be
So my
related.
family came from Bushwick.
Okay.
And then we moved to Puerto Rico. And then I have a few aunts and uncles that actually cut hair, and they had their own salons and barbershops. So I grew up in the industry. I've always tapped into the creativity of the urban communities. You know what I mean? Like, I like to draw. I like the graffitis. In fact, one of my cousins, he's one of the top artists for Marvel.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So that's our background. And with that, you know, of course, you know, I got my aunts and uncles that they go to church and stuff like that.
For sure.
And don't hang out with that cousin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the cousin. No, they don't hang out with that cousin.
Those are the fun ones.
Yeah, right? So I started to learn that being in the barbershop was a non-judgmental place. You know, and that's the place where everybody got together and we see each other, and there's a cop, and that's the guy that got me locked up, and it was all walks of life together.
It's the equalizing factor. Yeah.
And I just started falling in love with that. And of course, like any other barber, we just bought some pair of clippers, called itself barbers, and we started off from there. And then, you know, some went to school, some didn't go to school, some people just started getting money, and that's where it all started.
Yeah.
1997.
97.
I was 15 years old.
I was 5.
And you know what's crazy? Well, the crazy part about this all is that I still got clients from 1997.
That's beautiful, bro.
Listen, my longest relationship on earth has not been with a relationship with a woman. It's been with my client.
For real.
My
bro.
longest relationship with a woman was 11 years.
97.
So
beats
I
that.
haven't figured that part out, but I have figured out how to keep a client in my chair since 1997. We were both kids.
You might have to
And
marry
we're
him.
Well, but I'm gonna be honest with you. You are truthfully, like, think about how responsible you gotta be to one person.
Yeah.
Over the years.
And how much mutual respect there has to
Right.
be. Because there's plenty of situations, you've been doing it longer than me, there's plenty of situations that come up with your clients that they're not sketchy or rude, but you have to set a boundary.
Of course.
And when you set those boundaries, you start to tell people's character.
Of course.
You know, because you already know you have the rapport. You already know
course.
you built a relationship. But now you have to set boundaries, just like a woman, just like you said,
yeah.
just like a woman, bro. You know, and whether it's 11 years or not, you're gonna hit boundaries you haven't hit before.
Of
And when
course.
you set them, you're gonna that test. You know what I'm
Listen,
saying?
me
Like,
and-
where
me-
are we at?
Me and my clients, we've gone at it.
Yeah.
You know, like so it's one of those type of this industry allows you to build, like I said, it's endless the opportunities. You know, so like when my goal was to cut like 10 people a day. I was the most paid barber in my area as far as price list went. Back when I started 2004, I was charging $40.
Damn, that was like $100.
Right? And people were like,
real.
"Oh man, this wannabe celebrity barber over here." Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I was kind of some celebrities, you know what I mean? Like I could.
You naming names? Are we naming names? Right now?
What, the celebrities? Nah. I was, you know. But the thing is, to me,
People who are
to me, everyone's a celebrity.
No, exactly. But that's the value that people don't understand.
Right.
What's the difference? Everybody has a story, bro.
Everybody has a story,
And value.
of course, 100%.
It's beautiful, bro.
How, you know, like you have to capitalize from the opportunity. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? So, you know, then you got to learn how to outgrow situations
Mm-hmm.
as well. You know what I mean? Like once I got 10 people, are those the 10 people that I want to continue to grow with, or do I allow my team to grow?
Right.
And not that you're passing them like a basketball.
No, yeah.
But you say, hey, this guy here is just as good as me because he's my cub.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
He's
under me.
Yeah, right.
I've been sculpting him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Would you mind? And before you know it, they build a relationship, and it's
Right.
like it's a peaceful.
Right. It's a family thing.
It's a
a
peaceful
family thing. Yeah.
divorce,
This
in a
isn't-
sense.
It's not even, right?
Right.
It's just like you can have us both.
Right. Of course.
But it's real love because you get that a lot. Even in here, we get it all the time. And especially like we talked about the small town Ocala mentality that we witnessed around here, or that I've witnessed.
Right.
And you get people that are so used to that, especially within barbering and the egotistical behavior that they encounter,
Right.
that they come in and it's like, hey, what's up, bro? And then they look at you crazy because you know that they don't have an appointment with you. And it's like, bro, you're here.
Right.
Like this love, bro. Thank you. It doesn't me, him. I'm happy you're here.
Right.
Who
Amen.
cares? It's love. It's family. We all our families know each other. We all got to eat.
Right.
And there's not enough people for us.
Amen.
If you can't get me, please go to him.
Of
You know what I'm
course.
saying? Like that's what it should be.
Of course, 100%. But for some strange reason, I don't know who created the friction here. Like, it was the client or was it the
Scared people.
barber?
I think it was barbers, bro. It's
But
barbers
like,
for sure.
yeah, like
It's barbers, bro.
clients be like, I don't
know
want to get a haircut with another barber in front of my barber. You know?
I'm sure in Jersey you might have seen some craziest shit. But the fact that I even know someone who personally witnessed not too long ago in Marion County,
Right.
I won't say where, witnessed. I actually no, it wasn't a witness. I couldn't remember if this guy was a witness or the guy.
Right.
Got punched in the face by a barber for some dumb shit like that. And it's like, what the hell, bro? Like, there's so many things wrong with that situation.
Right.
It's wild, and it doesn't even make any sense. Like, people feel that authenticity when you come into a place.
Right.
And that sense of like, bro, you ain't got nothing to worry. Like you said, it's an equalizing place. When you come in here, it don't matter if you make 150 grand or
Right.
300,000, you have 2 mil, or you make $12 and you got to make a shift at Chipotle right after this. Like,
Right.
Everybody's coming in here because we're men. I mean, generally speaking, yeah, we get women too. And we're here for haircuts.
Correct.
And while we're in here, we're all equal. You know what I'm saying?
Amen to that.
That's it.
Yes.
And really, we're equal everywhere. But for sure in here.
In the
because
barbershop.
as soon as that gets out of line, we're going to equalize that.
Right.
You know what
of
I'm
course,
saying?
we're
Like,
gonna balance that
relax,
out.
bro.
Yeah.
Relax.
Like you did with the micro.
Trickle it down.
Tune it
a
down a
little
little bit there. But I tell barbers, you know what? So I was in business and I sold the business during COVID, thinking things were just going to take a different turn. But I'm settled. I'm settled where I'm at right now. Of course, I'm a business minded person, and I'm gonna do other things. But right now, I need a little bit. You know, sometimes you gotta sit the bench.
Where do you think you're going with it? Where do you think? Or do you have any idea?
Oh no, I'm definitely for sure gonna continue to grow in the direction at where Dream Team Cuts first started.
Okay.
So, like I said, COVID was the curveball. And I had nowhere to turn. My brother,
Especially in Jersey. It's
right.
like communists up there.
but Jersey is a little expensive to even live, to even
real.
do anything. But like everything, like a pandemic was new to everybody. So there wasn't a person that you could turn to like and say, we've been through this before. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
My brother started a salon inside of a gym, and this guy's been there for quite some time. It was, pretty wealthy guy, He sold his business. Other businesses way higher than ours started closing. And I'm like, oh, man.
That started to get.
Do these people know more than me? Like, they got better connections. They're making a lot of money. They're opening a lot more doors. They know something I don't know, but I'm just going to follow the suit. You know what I mean?
That has to be a scary place.
So
to
it was,
be,
so it was like, like, where do you go? So luckily, nothing happened. But on the safe side of things, I just took the turn that I thought I needed to do. In fact, it was peaceful. So I'm
Are you still good with them? You still cool with them?
I'm still in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still in the house. So I sold.
That's even better.
Yeah. So we're good. But like we move as a unit. So we're gonna grow as a unit. So these guys, when we came on board, we came as a team. That was the mindset. We're family. You know what I mean? So we got each other's back. We didn't have that team that was about I'm better than you. You've been
Good.
Good. I'm a pitcher. You're a catcher. You're a catcher. I'm a pitcher. Whatever the case may be, right? But one thing I always told people, right? Barbers, you work for Dream Team cuts first, then you work for yourself. What that means is there's a requirement that is established for you to work for us. You work this hours, you do these certain things, and then after you do that, then you can do what you want to do.
Right. With their standards.
Right. You're not your own boss because when you came through those doors, you didn't just look at a station that was empty and you place your clippers there. Okay? Because that's what we did. When you looked at your place, you said, this is where my barber shop is going to be at. You came and put the walls up. Everybody else that works for you came and said, who is the boss? So where did that change? And now we're just using the word boss because I get where barbers stand from, but you had to be assigned a station. So whether you want to call him the leader, the boss, whatever, there's someone that in the chamber that you have to fall under.
That holds the authority.
Right. So barbers need to understand that your barbers need to understand they work for Elevate. Now, yes, we're gonna support one another, and we want you to grow and do what you want to do, and we will help you do that.
Right.
But when you came through this door, you came to work under the Elevate vision.
Right. For a reason.
Like,
why did you want to be
right?
there? Right.
Because you see, like you said, how genuine you are, how how you're unfolding your dreams that they could relate to, and they want to be around that energy.
Right.
So barbers just need to understand that before you can say you work for yourself, you work for somebody.
Right.
Unless you own the shop, then you really truthfully work for yourself, right?
And
even at that, you don't.
Even then, but you got to call it somewhere in the context, and that's really where it's at. Because at the end of the day, until you can say, "This is mine,"
right? It ain't.
Right.
And then you have to follow.
And that's not bad either. You know what I mean? Like you said, look at you. You sold the place. You're still in house. What is your individual mission? What's your individual goal for the things that you have going on? That's another thing. Most people think that the only way that they can be successful, let's say the guy who thinks that celebrity barbers the only way to be successful, or owning your shop is the only way to be successful. It's like none of that matters if it's not aligned with your goal in life.
Of course.
So what's that?
Of course.
Until you figure that out, you're just moving through the motions. You're just working through the motions.
And that's why a blueprint is important.
Right.
Everybody has to have an individual blueprint on what they want in their life. And that's where I come in. I always tell people there's no such thing as right or wrong because it's your blueprint. Now, if you ask me if your blueprint is wrong, in my eyes, it could be wrong.
Yeah, based on your perspective.
Right, in my perspective.
Right.
Now, it's not wrong if that's how you want to move in life. But now where I don't want to hear is you write your blueprint, you follow your blueprint, and then you complain about your blueprint.
Oh, exactly.
Change it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You're in
Change
control,
it.
bro.
Because you're in control of that.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like, one thing I learned about team development was I stopped trying to make everybody great. I just stopped.
Yeah,
I just stopped.
Yeah,
so what I did was I just allowed them to be great at what they're great at. So if you think you're the greatest first place player, I'm not trying to make you a catcher. I'm not trying to make you a pitcher. That's where you stay at. First place, that's where you're great at. That's where you're good, comfortable. That's where you place. That's where your energy comes out the best. That's where you stay at. Now, I still need a pitcher and I need a catcher.
Right.
So who's the greatest pitcher in this team? Okay, I'll put you as a pitcher. Because you can't make a cat bark.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So I see that I get more results out of just saying you did such a great job at what you're great at,
right.
than trying to say, dude,
You're falling short on all these things.
Right. Because people don't like that negativity.
And we don't either.
We
Because
don't
then
either.
it makes us focus on those things.
Right.
And then you start to resent people.
Correct.
And it's like you can't do that in any relationships.
Correct.
And that's the hard part, is like recognizing, just like we want to tell our anybody who's significant other, is like, look, just because you feel this emotion about something doesn't mean that's the reality of the situation.
Of course.
So, but if you keep feeling that emotion over and over and over, it starts to make it be the reality.
Correct.
And if you keep looking at all these things that people are falling short on, you also start to lose sight of where they're valuable.
Correct.
And not just valuable on one level, but as a unit, like you're mentioning. You know what I mean? Like there is value. Everyone does have value. It's just,
of course,
figuring out
100%.
the value and how it aligns with the mission.
Right.
And then also, like you mentioned, when you say not trying to make everyone great, I like how you elaborated on that, but my mind went more towards you have to leave them the space to grow to that point themselves, because you can't pull them to it. Exactly. You have to give them the space to see greatness, and then hopefully inspire the initiative to be great themselves. Right. Because if not, they're just going to keep talking about it and never do anything to move in that direction.
Of course.
And I think that's the case with most people.
And that's when they say trust the process.
Yeah.
Right. So like, well, it's real deep when it comes to that. You know, I was just trying to touch the surface, but like you said, if they initiate that on themselves naturally, then you as a leader, you will pick up on that.
Yeah, you feel it.
Oh, man, you know what? I've been wanting you to come on this side, but now that you're showing me that initiative, I tell you what, come on over here. I got you. This,
but not forcing it.
Right, not forcing, because forcing is kind of like, you got to talk to a kid like a kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then gradually grow with them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They have to be seeking it. You can't give them the answer to something they don't care about.
Right.
Right.
Because it just is not going to get you nowhere.
So where do you see Dream Team Cuts going for your vision as to what that will be in the future? Big picture. What's the vision that you see when you hear Dream Team Cuts? What is it that's going on?
Well, I can't derive from what started us, was just working back to our community, changing lives. If you go on YouTube, we had a guy from Puerto Rico where Luis Jordan Torre, that was a big, bringing peace. And it just happened to be a barber that brought the peace amongst two groups that wasn't getting along. And we were able to go down there and recognize him. His name is Misael Ayala. And one of our back then ambassador was Ruben, who is now the owner of Dream Team Cuts, because I sold it to him. He was one of the guys that bridged the opportunity for us to come down there and recognize that. So basically, we were able to get 150 kids back into school.
That was in Puerto Rico?
In Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And
Dope.
that's all over YouTube and stuff. Now, this happened, I want to say around 2012, 2011. So it's about giving opportunities. You know what I mean? To people. That's more important to me.
For sure. Spreading the love, bro, paying it forward. I mean, we know what this industry's done for us.
Right.
We know what the career's done for us. And I mean, I imagine, I get the feeling you have the same sentiment, but it's like, I've gotten everything I needed to get.
Right.
And now it's just a matter of how we can share that.
How we can spread that.
How can we share it and continue to grow it?
Of course.
But it's like, you got everything you need now, bro.
Right.
And the opportunity that you have to have a space that can afford to change people's lives, literally.
Of course.
Like I think about Mike Eclipse, the guy here. He a year ago he had never cut hair in his life.
That's crazy.
And he just, he got a family like me, and I remember he worked corporate work like me. I know what that was like, and he got to a point that I remember being at where he's like, bro, I can't do this shit no more, bro. Like I got to figure out a way.
Right.
And he looked to barbering because he was already a client here, and I'm not saying this because it's like, yo, our shop did this, but it's just to have a space that can do that. Because every barbershop has that opportunity.
But you did.
We did. And that feels great. You know what I mean? To know it's like, bro, this ain't just some bullshit. Like, you helped us create a space that changed someone's life.
Of course, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a big deal.
And that's what barbering saved my life. I like that line, because it truthfully is a space where you inspire people. Mm-hmm. I got clients that they're in their 30s and 40s, seeking barbering just because they come to our shop and like, man, you know what, this might be it.
Yeah, like exactly. And they've been going there for so long, miserable with what they do every day, and their only break through the week is when they come in for an hour. And they've taken them so long to realize, bro, if I don't have anything else that makes me feel like this, why don't I just become part of this?
Right.
And that's the beautiful thing that I also think is great, that we were talking about all the barbers and the issues with egotistical barbers and this and that. And although that's true, it's true in every field, right?
Right, of course.
Although we see it as a concentrated level.
Right.
And I think another reason is that independent contractor mentality creates it at a higher level, because you don't have a structure that's taming the bullshit. It's
Right.
like everyone can be loud enough to be bullshit,
Right.
and not have HR to come settle shit down. So
Right.
you see it a lot more, right?
Right, of course.
And you get the clients clients have a unique opportunity with their barbers more than any other person. I think that would serve them on a personal level for anything, because it's usually pretty often, at minimum once a month, right?
Right.
And there's not many services that you're going to see a guy to sit down for an hour for once a month, usually, right?
For 20 plus years.
Right. Or even one, for that matter.
Right.
And get to see, okay, I've seen this guy every month or every 2 weeks for a year. I've heard how he was talking for before. I saw how he was moving before. And you get to see, okay, over time, is this person full of shit? Or is this person actually doing what he's talking about?
Correct.
Is this person following through on the messages he's relaying? Are his messages consistent?
Right.
Are his messages genuine?
Right.
When things change, are the reasons for that appropriate? Or is this guy just full of... Because we all know those guys.
Well, of course,
you see them
100%.
all the time. I mean, the guys who come here, who we love, who are full of shit,
Right.
we love you too. But we're going to always tell you, yo, you're full of shit. You get what I'm saying? Like, you're in here and I
Right.
love you, but you're full of shit.
Right,
You're
right.
welcome anytime. And until you stop, I'm going to keep telling you.
Right.
Right. But they know that we're not. And
Right.
and even those guys that I'm thinking of, and they know who they are.
Right.
I love them, but I think that's a part of why they love it too.
Right, of
Because
course.
they know they're full of shit.
Of course.
And we're the only people who are willing to tell them that.
Right.
Because everyone else is just
Dust it
willing.
off.
Right. Come on back, baby. But eventually people see that it's not necessary.
Right.
And eventually they start to find who they really are and recognize who they are, and then are able to offer that to other people.
Of course.
And especially with the younger generation. And I'm sure
course.
you've noticed these kids come in here now, they can't even talk to people, bro.
Oh, no.
And it's like, come on,
They
bro.
got their heads down. Just
They can't even talk to people. And you're trying to pull the conversation out of them, and they're just like, huh?
right.
Uh,
And, common sense and logic doesn't need school education.
For sure.
You get what I'm saying?
For sure.
So,
Common
my
sense and-
background is way different than your background, right? So to me, like, I have developed so many interesting relationships with so many different interesting people, right? And every time, like I was telling you yesterday, some barbers are starstruck, where me is like, I'm cutting one and I'm like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
You right?
Yeah.
Forget who the hell he is and what he does. It's about me, because they reached out to me.
Right.
So at some point, I was an interesting point of conversation to their circle. How did I come about this? How did I get here? Right. So like learning people, energy, you know,
Huge energy.
right. Just like I learned a lot by like building relationship is a big deal. You get what I'm saying? So like social media, like I was telling you earlier, right? Social media is, I don't down it, but there's a funny way. I could be whoever I want to be on social media. Anything. I could be
A woman.
I could be anything.
It could be.
I could be
2025.
anything, right? It's just right. You could be anything. So when my thing is that at the end of the day, I look at it like, just use it for your advantage. You get what I'm saying? So
The
use
social
it,
media, you're saying?
use it for your advantage. Grow with it. Like I said, I don't do the dye work like
Me
a lot of
neither. I don't
barbers
like
do.
that. Yeah,
I don't down it, but there's a
Same.
lane for making money
It's
and
not
stuff like
mine.
that, right?
It's not mine,
right?
though.
Like you would say with the classic and
Yeah.
stuff like that. When I was doing designs, I wasn't even a barber. Like a barber to the level where the barbers were, like all these blurry faces and stuff like that. I just connected to a lot of people just by designs. So then what I was doing, I was working in an area where it was close to 13 casinos at the time, right? I would go to these like new pop-up businesses that were coming up in our town, clubs. And then I had this guy That was my lead model director, right? And his name was Brian, and he would let me do anything. I'm like, dude, we're going to Boogie Nights tonight. All right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a whole theme about Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
And guess what, man? I'll go to the club. I'm with my man with the Boogie Nights renting this club. Next you know, I'm talking to the owner of the casino coming down, the VP table, and I'm like, oh damn, all this over a haircut?
Yeah.
Now
It's that good,
where it started off like a free haircut, turned out to be $2,000-3,000
Yeah,
everything was comped.
The casino too, right?
Everything was comped, dude. Like
Yeah.
I said, well,
You saying that reminds me, dude. It's beautiful that not only the value and the cost of the transaction for the haircut, but it's like once you have a good 3 haircuts with somebody, you've done your service to them. They've done their part in paying you for that service. Nothing else is owed there.
Right.
But if you've done your job and you see those people out and about, they love that they show you for simply the energy that you shared with them.
Of course.
They don't owe you anything. They already paid you. They got their haircut. You don't owe them anything.
Of course.
But it's always love.
Always love.
And it's like the fact that people are willing to share that with you shows how valuable the interaction is with you and your barber.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And like you mentioned, and like we say here all the time, it's so much more than a haircut.
Correct.
It's so much more than that because it puts you in those rooms. It puts you in those opportunities to question what the hell happened in your life to get here.
Of course.
And we're having this podcast for that reason.
Right, of course.
I didn't know we were doing this before yesterday.
I know,
24 hours ago, this podcast was never happening.
Right.
But here we are.
Here
You
we
know what
are.
I'm saying?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. And next thing you know, I'll be in Jersey, meeting the team and
There you go.
golfing. Plug me in for the golf.
I don't golf. The guys do.
Atlantic City, all this stuff that we could, put on for more people.
And you know what it is too, man? Like we're the true yellow pages of the community.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
for
Like
real.
I always say, like whatever we don't know, it ain't true.
Exactly.
And so like the networking, your net worth dependent on the network.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So your clients coming from here to Jersey, like I'm at a point where I live, right? Atlantic City, that any one of your clients could say, I'm going to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
I don't live in a retirement place. This is Atlantic City. This is where Mike Tyson might show up and do a show. This is where who knows, Usher. Like people are traveling as fans of these artists, these sports activities, gambling. So your client, more than likely, just like my client would say, I'm going to Florida.
Yeah, I'm going to Orlando.
Right, because this is a stopping ground for people in their vacation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they say, where were we going? Oh, Orlando is always a quick stop. Florida is always a quick stop. So, like, it's very important. I always tell people that to always network with the people, especially in the East Coast.
Hell yeah.
Everything's in the East Coast. History, everything. Philadelphia, New York City, New Jersey,
DC.
Chicago, DC. Like, you're coming to the East Coast one way or another.
Yeah.
We're in a point where you need to network with us.
Hell yeah.
Because Florida, and now is where everybody's going. New York City is the bucket list to the world.
Yeah, for real.
So if you live close to New York City, your networking value is
It's up there.
like that's the pinnacle. So if you're inside the triangle shape and you're in New York City or close by New York City, you up here.
Yeah, it's
Because
a high concentration.
everybody goes to New York City, and if they have not been there, they want to go.
And even just outside of there, I mean, look at the biggest barber show is in Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's just outside
Yes.
there. It's like it's all right there.
Funny part, I remember going to his first show. I think his first show was in Waterbury, Connecticut.
Waterbury, yeah. It's not far from there, too.
Take it
No.
way back.
Yeah, that's where Mike is from. Mikey the barber. Not him,
Oh,
not him.
okay.
But I point to the station.
Right.
He was here yesterday when you came in, Mikey, the dude that was from Connecticut. But he's from Waterbury.
Oh, look at that.
And that's why we were excited to go this year. I was like, yo, I just came up with the idea, like, what if we get a booth there?
Right.
We run the podcast, we meet people.
You should.
And we were. And then I realized, hold on. And then I found out about the Jacksonville Barber Expo and
Right.
then timing and budget and all these things. And I'm like, you know what? Let's take a baby step.
Right.
Let's do the Jacksonville Barber Expo. Plus, we're local. You know what I mean? We get to
course.
tap in more with our local community.
course.
I was like, then we get a better understanding for the process, how it went. Then we step up to the next stage.
Of course.
And, and then before then, hopefully I'll come up to Jersey to see you guys.
Of course,
we
man.
go. It'll be a thing, bro.
You just give me a heads up, like I said.
Levels.
Give me some time, and we'll set it all up so we can show you a good time.
Absolutely.
Showing a good time to any barber in my town to me is like, I love it. And listen, I could go in shops and shake hands because establishing concrete relationship with people is important.
For sure.
You're not burning no bridges, nothing. Things don't work out, that's fine. It was for the greater opportunity for each one of us.
Right.
It's not that the guys that worked for me, I'm no longer talking to them. It's not that.
It doesn't need to be that way. It does sometimes for me. Like I can't say I haven't had those experiences, though those have no fault of my own.
Right.
But generally speaking, you're absolutely right. I think people have a bad. Again, back to the professionalism or common sense, if you will.
Right.
If you don't have a reason, if it's not a real problem,
right,
then there's no reason to burn bridges. Like you said, you never know who you're going to come across or when you're going to come across people that are still valuable. And I don't just mean in how you can benefit off of them,
right,
but relationships.
Right.
People need each other, bro. We need our communities, and there's no reason to be losing those relationships.
Unity is the strength, man.
For sure. Love is everything, bro. We're all the same.
Love, energy, that love and unity is the only direction, because none of us could be here self-made.
Yeah.
I don't like that word self-made.
It's never true. It's never true.
Everybody has put a seed in your life.
Right.
Whether it was the guy that believed in you and did the documentary.
Right.
Whether it was on his strength or whether everybody, listen, the most valuable thing someone could give you is what?
Time.
He's giving it to you.
That's it.
There's no money that he could have been.
He
could have been laid up in his bed with his wife, right? And he's here giving you his time. That's the most valuable thing anyone could give you. I truthfully value that.
For sure.
When someone gives me their time,
you have to.
You have given me the most honorable. Right. You have given me the most golden thing in life. Because I don't know if you're a millionaire, you just gave me $200. I thought you gave me a lot. Right. But you gave me time. Our time is limited here.
Yeah. And I treat the clients the same way.
So thank you for coming by.
Yeah.
Man.
Yes, thank you for sure. And that's important, because when the clients come in here, it's the same way. Barbers need to understand that they're there for your time.
Of course.
So give them your time.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And I think that's.
So I believe that it's good to always talk across the room, but it's important to pay attention to your client.
For sure.
Sometimes I tell my barbers when I had the shop, and I say my barber is still family, right, to me. So I would say, "What's your client's name?" Right in front of them. Do you know your client's name?
They better.
I check them right in front of their clients.
Cold.
And cold.
Cold-hearted.
Cold. It's real important, man.
I had one who was bad at that.
Yeah,
but one specifically who was, and I used to get on him though. Like, bro, you cannot be doing that.
Right.
Like, especially, it's one thing back in the day.
Right.
It's another thing now, bro. It's on Booksy. You know their name before they come in. They put it there.
Right.
And you still don't know.
Right.
Like, come on, we gotta get with it, man.
Because you know what it is. I'm gonna be honest with you. Again, I work and live close to a tourist area, Atlantic City. Right. So you go in these places and you tip well. They see you. They start naming you. And it's going to feel great when you come in town. They be like, yo, Los, what's up, man? And you see the royal treatment. You can't compare that.
Yeah, I get that.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
I go places where they know money. I go places where they respect me. I go places where they show love.
Yeah.
Because then that's going to show you the value we have in our own town.
Right. Like, obviously.
You get what I'm saying?
Obviously, you've done something.
Right. So to me, it's like I'm exchanging my hard-earned money, and I'm asking you to just, even if it's fake love, show me love. Yeah. I'm giving you my hard-earned money. You get what I'm saying? So when I was charging $40 back in, and by the way, I only charge $50. So I've only went $10 and since
hey, that's real, dog.
Right? Since
you've been holding it down for your
for
clients.
a long time, right?
Yeah.
So, but when I was charging $40 and haircuts really in my area was more like $15, $20, right? I would tell my clients, I will hold them at a higher standard because obviously they're paying me a lot more.
You're making me look bad. I don't even want to finish this conversation.
He said no, but like to me, it's like, how can I put this? Is to me it is like it's never been the money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but money do separate the type of audience you're trying to be around.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I put $40, it wasn't about I was the Versace, the Louis in my area. It wasn't about that.
Yeah.
It was about that I was trying to be educated. It was for me. It wasn't that I wasn't trying to cut somebody from the hood that couldn't get a haircut, because I'll cut you at your house later on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'll do it for free. Go cook me some dinner. We good with that. You know what I mean? We'll have a Corona, whatever. We good. But in a shop,
then I'll cut your hair.
Right? But
that man's got a haircut date.
I know, right? But in a barbershop setting, it was more about like, you know, like someone that could afford $40 back then was truly had a corporate background,
Right.
some education, and I was trying to.
They were nervous in the hood for that haircut. They were like, "Yo, just give me a skin fade quick as possible, as quickly as possible. Give me a skin fade. I got to be at the office.
Right, I'm with you.
I got to get out of here."
There's a lot.
I have one guy like that. I think about.
Right.
He's a great guy, and he started coming to me when I worked at what you know was a shop of that nature, more of that nature, of that demographic.
Right.
And he wasn't that, and but he knew where to get the haircut.
Right.
So he came in, and you could just tell he was always uncomfortable.
Right.
He was always just waiting to like, all right, just get me out of here as quickly as possible. And then people come in, and then all of a sudden he's like, this guy's sketchy. I gotta get out of here. Then he'll be like, yo, I'm here, but I'm waiting in my car. Let me know when you're ready. And then when he finally left, he tells me he's still around to this day. I saw him, and then when he left, he tells me now, he's like, yeah, man, I couldn't wait for you to get out of that barbershop. I felt so good when we went to somewhere else.
Right,
I'm like, yeah, I
right.
got you, bro.
Right.
But that's so that I get that. There's many reasons. There's many reasons.
course.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to your individual morals, your character, your character, and also just where you value what you're doing and why.
Right.
That's always what it comes down to.
course,
that changes everything.
100%. And you know what? Like, I remember going to Tennessee, and I seen Oprah Winfrey's father. He passed, rest in peace. But like, I remember the street was named after him, Vernon Winfrey, and he had what was called the Winfrey Barbershop, and he had a building, and so he had the salon. It was called Winberry Salon, and then his barbershop was called Winfrey's Barbershop, and I just thought that was so cool.
The fact that
You know,
existed.
like the fact he had his building, sitting in the corner, and the street was named after him.
Yeah.
And barbers do have that type of impact in our community. You know what I mean? G Barber Wheels from Boston. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No.
So he has a very interesting story. You should tap in with him
Yeah.
online. And these are like some of the
OGs.
barbers that I grew. Yeah, OGs. Yeah.
Real OG.
Right.
Triple OGs, if you will.
True indeed. And like barbering, that's what I like about hair shows. I'm not so into it right now because a lot of different things came about, right? But when I was really tied in, I met so many great barbers, man, with with backgrounds that I could relate to. And backgrounds that I was like, oh, wow. So there is a possibility of growing, because, when you come from a corporate background, it's different. Everything is, different. So when you got a certain background like I did, and a lot of barbers did, it was like, oh, man, there is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, so then, like my interest was more like, damn, man, how did you basically crack these codes to get to where you at? And so to me, it's like barbering truthfully has saved a lot of life, and I fall into that circle.
But that's the difference between someone who has that sense that you're referring to or someone who comes from that background, because it's one thing to come from the background and understand it, and it's another thing to have people who don't come from the background but don't understand that you cannot not change
Right.
and go that direction.
Correct.
Like you can't just keep doing what you're doing and then have different results.
Correct.
You have to change these behaviors.
Right.
Yes, you may not have come from that, but if you had the understanding like, okay, I need to go learn what these guys are doing differently
Right.
to put themselves in these positions.
Of course.
As opposed to saying, I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and know I'm going to get it. It's like, no, it's not going to happen. It's not gonna happen.
You got it. You got to change shoes.
Right.
You
Yeah,
never
but
got
they don't want
Yeah.
to. They don't understand that they are shoes. They think
Right.
it's their feet.
Correct.
They think they can't change it.
Right.
And it's like, no, you have different shoes for different things.
I like the way you put that. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's
take the truth.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been that barber where I've been all over the place, like a ping pong.
We've been there.
Right.
We've been there.
It's like, hold on, I'm smacking the ball that way, then running that way, and smacking it this way again, right? Because as life progresses, so does the obstacles get more challenging, right? And depending on how much you slacked on picking up the slack on those chapters, the load just get heavier and heavier and heavier. And essentially, you just let go of the bag, right? And then you just open another bag and just start off a new bag. So I've been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Education is a real important part of anybody's background. Any job, any walks of life, you have to be educated. You know what I mean? You have to go out there and learn. Like I was telling him, I said, I want to go to church this Sunday, right? It's not about following a religion. It's not like that. It's about, so here's a guy who's a pastor who brings 300 people to a service. So it's not about what you're reading out of the book. It's like, how are you presenting yourself that you're able to connect with so many people and people want to connect with you? There's a million options out there and they're coming to you. So while you're reading off the Bible or reading whatever doctrination it is that you are rendering, I'm over here studying
How you're doing it.
how you doing it.
And who you are.
And applying it. Because as I've always said that, man, like if you can't have a mind of your own, like where you're a creator and innovating stuff, then cool. Just don't reinvent the wheel.
Right. And here's where I think people take that advice incorrectly. Excuse me. A little parched.
It's not good.
They say don't reinvent the wheel, which I agree with.
Right.
But they think that means to use somebody else's wheel. Right. It just means build your own wheel.
Correct.
Don't build a different wheel.
Right.
Build your own wheel.
Correct.
That's his wheel.
Correct.
He's doing it the way he does it. There's a way you can follow that format being you.
Correct. McDonald's and Burger King.
Right.
We both sell burgers.
And they tend to just try to copy and Xerox instead of use who they are and integrate that into the idea.
Of course.
You know.
Well, you know, one thing I learned too, man, you can't be nobody else but you.
Yeah. Even if you try.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing about the bullshitters when it comes to barbers.
Right.
That when you are trying to be somebody else but you, these people see you every week, bro.
Right.
They know who you are.
Right, of course, 100%.
They hear
don't
your
care.
stories.
They're like, oh, okay.
And
Shape me up, bro. I gotta go.
Yeah. And if there's not a barber who's not full of shit available, that's the only way you're keeping them.
Right, of
You know what I'm
course.
saying? Because it's like, well, they're all full of shit, but you just cut my hair better.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I mean?
I'm with you 100%.
But as soon as you find somebody even a little bit not as good, but just not full of shit, they're going to them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
But
Hey-
go ahead.
No, and you know, like honestly, like you know, I tell barbers all the time, man. Listen, man, if you cut 10 people a day, you're not even cutting 1/16 part of the community.
Exactly.
Like there's like I'm sure in this town alone, your population is about 30,000-40,000 people.
In the city limits, I think the county is like even bigger. Like I think almost 500,000 now.
Okay, so now
The
you think
county,
about it.
you know.
Let's say half of that's male. Huh? 68,000.
In Ocala. Thanks, Jamie.
So I was right. So think about it. Like think about how impossible that is for a barber to even think that you could cut everybody.
And
right?
then to think, but if I'm not available, you better not go to anybody else.
right. Like
Shut the fuck up, bro. Where am I gonna get a haircut,
Right,
dog?
right.
You're not available for 4 weeks.
Exactly. And that's like you think about every 10 years, there's another 10,000 more people at it.
Yeah.
They're gonna have kids. You
Yeah.
know.
And
So-
I love the game, bro. I love it. Listen, I started cutting hair at 13,
Right.
and I knew I was gonna cut hair forever, but like somewhat. I didn't
Right.
think I was gonna be a barber forever.
Right.
And I knew because I started in a shop that I had the same feeling you had. I knew I was gonna own my own shop one day.
Correct.
Thank God, here we are. But
Amen. Love your shop, by the way.
thank you, bro. I really do
Yes.
appreciate it. I can't wait to see what you did over there. But now that I'm here, I knew I was going to have a shop, but I didn't think of it as a place I was going to be working forever or anything like that. And I still don't forever per se. But now that I actually have my own shop, like, you know how it is. First few years, you're figuring the industry out. Then you get your shop, and it's like a whole nother learning process of the industry, like as an owner. And then now it's gotten so complex and so juicy with all the other elements that it's like you just fall deeper in love with the game because it's just like I love golf and I love so many other things. I love the things that are reminiscent of what life is about. Amen. And that bring all those elements together, that bring the right people together without the facade of the corporate bullshit or the political nonsense. All the things that get equalized when you come to a barbershop are the things that I want to equalize everywhere. Correct. Like it doesn't need to be just the barbershop. If this is what I need to make to equalize it here first, great. But I'm working my way out these doors. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal. And that's part of what the podcast is too, because it's like the more I can bring barbers who are of the same mindset or have similar mindsets and maybe different ideas, we can share, we can network, and we can project our voices. Of course. You know what I mean? And start, just doing bigger, better things.
What better way than doing, verbally, right?
And I love it.
Podcast.
This is what we're all good at. We talk all day. And we have stories that are so different.
All day.
Which by the way, I was going to ask you where, if people want to find you, find the shop in Jersey.
So the shop is at 541 Northfield, New Jersey.
Okay.
08225. You can find us on any hashtag Dream Team Cuts with a Z, and any social media. It's going to lead you right on to every barber that worked there or that currently still work there. You can find me personally at Signature Lowe's on Instagram, Lowe's Barber on Facebook, and
awesome.
That's where you're gonna find.
I appreciate that. I didn't want to forget because when I put it up there, I got to make sure.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I really appreciate you coming to take the time.
Man, I appreciate
today,
you for having me, man.
Definitely.
I definitely elevated with this conversation for sure. No, you.
I appreciate the plug though. Yeah. Is there anything before we go? Anything? Is this your first podcast?
This is my first. No. Actually, I did a podcast a while back. Now that I'm thinking about, with one of my barber brothers in our town, CJ, at Starting 5 Barbershop. Yeah. A town over.
Okay, so you have a little bit.
But this is truthfully like the first one. Like
no ties to, at least. Yeah.
Because that one we kind of script the topic a little bit.
Okay.
Here we were just
going. Was that weird?
No, it's actually good because I'm gonna be honest with you. If you get off the element that there's a mic in front of you, and it's being recorded, we're just having a conversation at the bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the setting is great.
I love that we got to do it, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Did I not touch on anything that you wanted to talk about?
No, it's perfect. I mean, if I could tell any barbers, one thing is like, treat the barbershop that you're working for as if it's yours, because we're creatures of habits. So the things you start to do here are the things that are going to come at naturally when you open your own shop. Don't just not sweep the floor because it ain't your barbershop and you don't care because the owner supposedly don't care. Do it because it's the right thing to do, and it's because how you want your barbershop to be, and lead by example. And that's it. And you remember one thing, man. You work for the brand first, and then you work for yourself. And you're no one's self-made. So always give credit to everybody that has built you along the way. Whether it was a grain of rice or it was a whole sack of rice, everybody has placed you in their lane where you at. And when you put your hands up and you say you made it, look back and congratulate everybody that gave you,
and thank them.
Yeah, thank them, because you know what, man, it's just is part of your journey. You know what I mean? Everybody, like from an ex to whoever, you know what I mean? Like, listen, man, I got fallen relationship that I still have to give credit to.
Hell yeah.
Because one thing don't mix in with the next.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And you learn something from that.
Yeah, this person brought me here. The relationship died out, but from A to B, the credit belongs to that person. That's the person who gave me the ride. Yeah. You know what I mean? So don't be quick to disqualify people on your credit line, So
and if you're at a shop and the owner don't care, find a new spot.
Find a new shop. Come to Elevate.
Come to Elevate. We'll talk about some contracting deals.
So this is another opportunity that moving forward, and I'll do more podcasts and stuff. Your name will always be brought up.
Hey, that's love, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah. Hey, we're gonna get it going, and thanks to Chris and Mario for making it happen, bro.
Of course, thank you.
For sure.
Because they gave us their time.
Good show, bro. Thank you.